You have to be 21 or older.
Not for vanilla.
That's why we made the announcement for you.
There are a lot of questions about alcohol, and I know Jeff made it sound simple, but the best thing to do is just ignore it for the most part, because
make sure Paula tries
if you go to a pastry shop, any good Italian pastry shop, they're selling baba rum, which is a pastry that is soaked in rum, and they get away with it. It's an ingredient. New York, different states have different amounts of alcohol that you can put into a product and still be legal. And they're very high. I mean, they sound low. You know, they might say, 8% by volume. Well, what's the volume? If the volume is 10 gallons, what's 8%? It's next to nothing. And you have any inspector come in and say, how much alcohol is in your ice cream? You say, well, it's you find out what the state law is. It's 3.2% by volume, and he doesn't even know what by volume means. So it's a real gray area. As Jeff said, it sounded very abrupt, but it's very true. Sometimes in life you just do it, and you obviously do the obvious. If you're going to sell alcohol ice creams, adult ice cream, you notify people. There's two problems with alcohol ice cream, and they can be solved. One is the signage. Now, not in Jeff's place, but in most places, if you're a regular ice cream parlor and then decide you're going to put in alcohol, it's going to cost you more. And you got the problem of you don't want somebody's 16-year-old who comes in, he's 6'4" already, and he goes, hi, I'd like some of that rum raisin ice cream. Let's see your card. Oh, I left it in my car. I'll be back. That gets rid of him. You put up a sign that, if you had to, you put up a sign that says adults only ice cream. You must be 21 years of age to buy these flavors.
And we have that.
And then you can card them. And it's that simple. But the health departments just have no clue. And when you mention, well, what about a pastry shop? They just lose their mind because they don't know what to do. Because a lot of pastries have alcohol in them.
Now, will an Italian restaurant sell veal marsala to a 6-year-old?
Loaded with alcohol.
To a 6-year-old? Of course they will.
Yeah.
All day long.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's a gray area. But
and let me just say this. Just understand what you're doing. You're not trying to put anything over on anybody. You're not trying to get people drunk.
Right.
It's really an accommodation.
Right.
When an adult comes in and they order an adult ice cream in my store, yeah, they get a buzz. 10 minutes, because we serve a large portion, they get a buzz, and you can spot it. 10 minutes later, they're happy at the table, they're laughing. They're not falling over drunk. Mm-hmm. Don't forget, the alcohol that you're going to use are mainly liqueurs. Liqueurs have a very low percentage of alcohol in it. It's really flavor. Do you taste that amaretto flavor?
Yeah.
It's delicious, but it's strong. Kahlua, strong. Black raspberry liqueur, strong. And not a high percentage of alcohol. So your goal is not like a bar where come on and get high and have some ice cream. Your goal is, you know what it is? When pot becomes recreationally legal and you put it in ice cream, and I'll be the first one to do it.
We did some in Ice Pops.
When you put it in ice cream, people aren't going to be, it's not going to look like an acid trip in your store. It's just a mild little thing. The amount we use is so little, it's enough to get a buzz, but not enough to get you anywhere near drunk.
Right.
Counterpoint. Now, here's the other side of the coin. Jeff's place is catering to adults. He's on the edge of one of the largest retirement places in the country. Wow. And just a little made-up story. It's wonderful. They're having dinner. The husband and wife are having dinner at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. They're old, and they're having dinner at 4 o'clock. And the wife says to the husband usually, now, you're cut off. You can have 2 glasses of wine, then you're cut off. And he grumbles and eats his dinner. And then about 7:30 at night says, hey, honey, let's go over to Jeff's place and get some ice cream. Because they know there's some rum in the rum raisin and bourbon in the bourbon vanilla. And they're both kind of, just laughing it off that they can, still have a drink at, 9 o'clock at night. Here's my concern with CBD, and I'm going to be the only voice on this, CBD and alcohol. I find them both just fine if that's what you want to do in your business model. But in my business model, and Jeff's is pretty much an adults-only business. He doesn't have a lot of small kids running around. They're welcome to come, they just can't come in, is what I do.
He's for real.
They just have to stay in the parking lot with the windows rolled up.
With the rabid dogs.
Cut that. Flag the tape. So what I look at ice cream as is it's a family treat. You take the family out on Friday night to go get ice cream. And I don't want mom being concerned that her 5-year-old, whether CBD has no effect or hallucinogenic effect or whatever you want to call it whatsoever, so they say, I don't know. I don't want it in my ice cream to give to my kids. I want to keep that family-centered business. You're not going to sell cigarettes. In the old days when we sold cigarettes everywhere, we still didn't sell cigarettes at ice cream parlors. We want to keep a family image for the vast bulk of the businesses that you're going to do. If you're going to open up on the Strip in Las Vegas, hey, have at it. Serve all the different things you want because that's what your market's not going to be. You're not going to see a bunch of little kids coming in on the Strip in Vegas. But if you're going to be a family business, you've got to keep a family reputation because maybe dad will kind of just shrug his shoulders, but mom's going to say, no, I don't want my kids exposed to this at this time. When they get older, let them decide for themselves. And I think that's a real problem. I think it's a real question. Maybe you're making a little short-term profit and you're getting a little bit of boost in sales, but Jeff's been in business for a long time now, and he's not in business a long time because he's doing some ice creams that might have alcohol in them. He's doing it because he's making an incredible ice cream. He's got a reputation for the ice cream. People don't say, I can't wait to go to Jeff's because of the rum and the rum raisin, or that the raisins were soaked in rum. They come because the ice cream is spectacular. So look at the long picture.
And the environment. I believe that whatever
fun.
store you open up has to be an interesting destination. Because remember, that door got to go open and close, open and close. And the person who comes in Monday better darn well be back by Thursday. That's what you need. And that's what I've tried to build. My model for an ice cream store is a hangout. I want people to come and feel relaxed. We have music playing. We have different events a couple of nights a week. We even have a small dance floor with a stage. I want people to come in and hang out and feel comfortable. And a lot of them do order the adult flavors because they sit with a bunch of their friends and they just let their hair down. Their white hair. They come and have a great time. And that's what I want.
It's a nightclub that sells ice cream. And it's very unique within the country. And that's why he does so well is he's not going to franchise it, all over the world. He might like to, but
and yet all of my students, all of the graduates of this class I teach, they all follow the model. They don't. My place is filled with '60s memorabilia, Beatles and stuff like that. The other guy who just was named best ice cream along the whole beach in Daytona and New Smyrna, surfboards. He put surfboards on the wall because that's what his $13,000 investment necessitated. And I got to tell you, you can open a store for under 15. Key, open, under 15. Making money 3 days later.
Themes are fun. Leopold's in Savannah is a theme ice cream parlor. And Stratton Leopold is a top movie producer. All the action movies,
got great stuff.
All the action movies are him and produced by him. And so in his ice cream parlor, he's got old, big, reel-to-reel Panavision cameras. In the bathrooms, he's got a light. When you turn on the light in the bathroom, there's a light outside the bathroom that's red that says "Quiet on the set," and just fun and posters of different actors. He does all the Tom Cruise movies. Themes are fun, and a theme doesn't even have to be surfboards. It could be. We did one called Davis and Whiteford Designer Ice Cream. Well, that's kind of a strange name, but it was in Darien, Connecticut, which is extremely wealthy, and everything is all very, heavy maple and mahogany and the whole works, and so it fit right in with what that town was. It amazes me
that it could
that
be anything. It could be video games, basketball, opera, NASCAR, whatever your interest is. Go for it.
one guy liked train sets that I
That's
did.
perfect.
And he had trains running around the
Yeah,
top.
it's
It was
great.
cool.
Anything. Make it interesting, that's all.
How about some frozen dessert questions? Nobody? Crickets? Of course, yes.
You know what? I'm brave enough.
I told you she was
I'm
coming.
brave enough to ask the question. I don't care. Laugh at the nut. That's going to make tons of money whenever I open
We know you are.
whatever. So I have concession trailers. So can I use the adult flavors in concession trailers?
I don't know.
Oh.
It probably wouldn't change anything.
So it wouldn't change anything?
I think you've got a better shot at it because you don't have a lot of kids coming up to nowadays concession trailers, unless you're, Mr. Softy or something, and you got the little bells jingling. But if you're in there with other concession trailers serving food, that's more of an adult
As long
thing.
as I have signage, I think I should be okay.
That's an adult theme. Yeah.
Signage.
And the worst
And
they can
also-
do is tell you stop.
Yeah, and also that's right. Remember, this is a journey. This whole process that you're sitting here for, this is step one. I sat here. Remember?
Yeah.
I sat back there where Steve is sitting. The very first, my total first introduction to ice cream was 10 years ago in that seat back there. And I took the same class that it was called Lunch with the President at the time. Steve talked about everything. He made ice cream. The first ice cream he made was, I'll never forget it, it was Merlot. And I tasted it, and it was vile. And it's a true story. And I went outside, I called my wife, and I said, we're going to be rich. If this guy can make that and sell it, we can do much better.
Yeah, what he said was, if that idiot Steve Thompson can do this, imagine what I could do.
Well, close. But that's a true story.
I used to use the classes as a proving ground for new flavors.
And the reason I was concerned is because I have a partner, and he's the one that's writing in the Facebook page. I'm the one saying, come on, coquito. Puerto Ricans will eat that up. I make coquito for my friends every year, but I want to make it in an ice cream. And we can get it in Puerto Rico, but not here. So, So.
We had in the Bronx, he was a good friend of ours, Coco Helados, and his name was Arthur Tyboud, and he employed over 200 people with little push carts. Any flavor you wanted, as long as it was coconut.
Yeah.
And when Rudy Giuliani came in and became mayor, he said, we're going to clean up this town. We're only going to let people have 3 permits. And Arthur had 200 people out there with little push carts. He got an appointment with Rudy Giuliani in the first week and said, sir, if you don't give me my 300 permits, we're not Lexington Avenue and 5th. If you don't give me my permits for the Bronx, you're going to have 200 people on welfare tomorrow.
Beautiful.
And Rudy was a very smart man. He said, here's your permits.
Beautiful.
Go for it. Any flavor you want as long as it was coconut.
Yeah.
And
All right.
what a big business.
Jerry, what do you think?
I think I'm excited about
Me
getting
too.
started.
Boy, that's the best answer I've heard all day. That's what I want. Let me tell you something. I'm going to espouse for a minute.
Please do. That's what we get paid for.
10 years ago, I didn't have very much, and I took this class, and I bought a CB350, a small machine, and I started in business, and it's life-changing. I know you don't think selling a $5 ice cream can be life-changing, but it's life-changing. We see 200 people a night now, and we're open 4 hours. That's it. 4 hours. We open at 6 o'clock, we close at 10 o'clock, 6 nights a week. That's it. And I got to tell you, it took me 6 years to make $1 million, and now it'll probably take 4 to make the second million. It's ludicrous. This is stupid money. And if you all don't have a store within 4 months, you're missing the boat. Not just for you, but for your family, your kids, your relatives. This is life-changing. $5 ice cream. Who would have believed it? It's nuts. So get on the board. Do it.
And on the Italian ice, same thing, lesser cost, and you could do it with a push cart. You could do it with a trailer behind your car. There's a lot of ways you could sell Italian ice, but you'll be able to expand the business, like I said. And there's gratification in making a lot of money. There's even better gratification in being able to say, there are 20 families out there right now that are making money because of me.
Right.
And you hear, we're never going to be in that caliber, but when you hear about some of these billionaires who say, "Oh, I don't work for the money. I work for the job." What they mean is they have enough money, but they just enjoy the fact that they've got a little piece of knowledge that they can pass on, so that anybody can go do this and make money. The American dream. And on top of it, any of you with children or grandchildren, everything that Jeff does is what I have to do, and everything I have to do is what General Foods has to do. You learn in the little business with just a push cart. You're going to learn how to use QuickBooks. You're going to learn purchasing. You're going to learn pricing. You're going to learn customer service. You're going to learn inventory control. All this stuff, and you can teach it to someone else, a relative like I do that you want to keep far away, or you can do it with a family member. You can teach your kids, and they may not stay. If you're in Rochester, New York, they may say, "Hey, I love your business, but I don't want to stay in Rochester. I'm going down to the Bahamas." They can take all that information and copy what you did, and they'll be successful. It's going to be very hard going future for our children and grandchildren to hold a job in large corporations, because nobody stays more than 2 years. Everything's a stepping stone, and if you get too expensive, they fire you anyway. This way, you've got a business that you can make a real good income for yourself, and you can pass it on to other people. It's fun. You wake up in the morning and you're happy to go to work. I mean, you can be in the worst mood in the world until you walk into an ice cream parlor. I guarantee you're walking out in a good mood.
Right.
I mean, you got a big mint chip in your hand. Instead of a chip on your shoulder, you got a mint chip in your hand. I gotta use that as a slogan. That's cool.
At 3:30 today, I'm getting root canal.
Yippee!
But hell, oh yes they are. But hell, I'm happy now. We're making ice cream. We're turning people around. Are you all excited about getting into this business? It's stupid profit, I got to tell you. Yes.
I have several questions on several different topics.
Uh-oh.
All right, so the first one I'm going to go at is, do I need to be a certified food protection manager making ice cream?
Yes.
Okay.
What he's referring to, where do you live? What state?
Florida.
Yeah, in Florida, as I'm sure it's almost federal, there are two certificates that they're not required, they're suggested. Did you know that?
No.
Yeah.
This is only Florida.
One is a food handlers class, and you get a certificate. It's about a 2-hour test, and you get a manual, you study for it. It's not easy because it doesn't cover just ice cream. It's universal. It covers the temperature of chicken, how do you store pork, chicken, and beef, and eggs in a freezer. It's all that stuff. The lumens in your lights. It's very far-reaching. But most of you seem fairly intelligent, and you can do it. I did it, and I'm no whiz. The second one is a food manager's course. Now, the state suggests that everybody who handles your product should have a food handler's course certificate, and that the overseer should have a food manager's certificate, and that person should be there all the time overseeing the operation. Well, this is ludicrous. This doesn't happen in the real world. It's not structured like that. But it's good to have the employees take it because it's pretty cool. It's a cool course. Now, they make a prep course for it. I didn't know this. I went to take the test, and I get there, and I open the door, and there's 25 people there with an instructor at the front. I close the door, and I said to somebody, "What's that?" "Oh, they're teaching the course before you take the test." Well, it's like giving you the answers. She's not going to teach you what you don't need to know. She's going to teach you what's on the test. So you can do that if you want to skirt the system a little bit. I passed, but it was not. I didn't think I passed because in a freezer, what goes on top? The chicken, the beef, or the pork? Well, obviously, the beef goes on the bottom, right? Because it drips the blood down. There's no blood dripping out of chicken. So stuff like that. It's a lot of common sense if you think about the stuff. But anyway, so those are the, did that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay. And you can just go online and look up.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that I had to do it, you know what I mean?
Okay, and if you want, I mean, if you don't want to take the class, $27, you get the book, and you study the book before you take the class, and you'll pass.
Steve, I saw online you making the key lime pie ice cream pie. And
Yeah.
you had some candies that you broke up. Where'd you get the candies?
Where do I get the candies?
Yeah, those candies, those ones that were key lime.
What
Oh.
candies? Candies?
I don't even remember where I got them. It was so long ago. They were little
If you-
key lime candies.
If you need a supplier for candies, there's a place, Bayside Candy. They're in Bayside, Queens, New York, and they sell large quantities of 1 million kinds of candies, and they're pretty good. I've never had a problem.
Hey, Mike, write that down for me. Bayside Candies. So I can make some candy ice cream here.
Okay, go
That's
ahead.
good.
Push carts. Is there any requirements doing it off-site? I mean, what kind of push cart? Is there any kind of special
Okay,
requirement?
let's say this. There's a in this government of ours, there's a requirement for how you walk down the street and chew gum.
Right.
So the answer is yes and no. The health department will govern the cart because if they inspect it, which I've never heard of them doing, but if they did and there's little buggies crawling around, then they're not going to be happy. But a push cart is so basic, 2 wheels and a box with an umbrella.
Maybe another question would be, would you recommend powered or not powered, right?
I'm a power guy. Those things, they started with the plates. Remember the plates?
Yeah.
The galvanized metal?
Nelson, C. Nelson Company, the letter C, period, and then Nelson Manufacturing makes great dipping cabinets, freezer cabinets, and push carts. And they've got the cold plate ones, which are terrific. You plug it in overnight, and then those plates get very cold, and you can take it out for hours. And then they've got other ones that, if you've got a generator source, you can use those. And if you're buying a generator and you're going to be out in the public, buy a Honda. They are the absolute quietest little generators around because nobody wants to be next to a booth. If they're selling falafels, they don't want to be next to you with a noisy generator spewing gasoline at them. The Hondas, everybody tells me the Honda's the best.
Now, you said on another video that when you started out with just 6 flavors,
Correct.
right? What would you recommend for someone like us to start out in a store of how many flavors that you put out? 6.
The book that I've been selling for years and years and years has about 22, 23 flavors in it, and those kept me going a year and a half. Not kept me going, those rocketed me to stardom in the first year and a half, and we rotated, but always had 6. I don't know, it just seemed like the right number to me. The number 1 flavor in the world is vanilla. I didn't sell vanilla ice cream till about 2 years ago because it was very hard to make outstanding world-class vanilla. But now I make vanilla. I found out how to make world-class vanilla. It's not hard. Nothing's hard. It's just putting it all together. But I think 6 flavors is pretty good. You don't want to kill yourself. Chances are you're going to have a CB350 making a batch of 1.5 to 2 quarts per batch, gallons rather, per batch. So, learn and just keep it living. You can have 40, but I think you'll be shooting yourself in the foot. So I thought 6 was good.
I agree with Jeff. The number of flavors has gone down. The Baskin-Robbins 31 flavors is just too confusing, and that's why I don't like those visual display cases, because people just sit there and stare and look at it and they can't decide, and they're holding up the line. Oh, the sample.
And what about those little spoons? You have 32 flavors out on display, and there's a bucket of little spoons. Can I try that one?
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. Can I try that one? And what's the guy next in line going to do? Well, hell, I'm going to try them too.
And then the old geezer who's doing that then leaves because he's full.
And you know who else leaves? The people on the end of the line.
Yeah, they do. That's why you'll never see long term. There's never going to be a successful liquid nitrogen store or the pan ice cream. They both make good ice creams for what they are, but the average serving time is 6 minutes.
Even Cold Stone's going out.
So 10 customers times 6 minutes. No American's going to wait an hour for anything. We just don't do it. We're not patient. We have no patience whatsoever. So those things, they're a flash in the pan. Excuse the pun, but I liked the Thai pan. I even thought of building them for a while until I ran into a salesman. He said, "Oh yeah, I've sold 700 of these, but I'm not ordering any more." I said, "Why not?" He said, "The market's saturated. It's already starting to fall away because it takes too long." Or the nitrogen ice cream. I'd love to see someone try to get insurance from Liberty Mutual with a 7-foot tall tank of nitrogen in my rented store.
Right, and a 6-year-old walking by playing with the stuff on the bottom.
Yeah, banging it with his...
Now, I don't, we see 200 people a night in 4 hours. It's really about 3 hours. So we don't give samples. We don't have the ice cream on display. We don't mix flavors. We don't have cones. There are no sundaes, no toppings of any kind. You get one flavor in a cup with a spoon, and that's it.
Doesn't he sound like Seinfeld? No soup for you.
You have so much repeat business, they already know what they want. They're not sitting there looking at a menu.
Well, we do have a huge wall with our flavors on it, made by me in the back, on a computer. We want Almond Joy, make a nice Almond Joy sign, put it up with Velcro. And we have new people every night. About 40% every night are new people.
Wow.
Isn't that
That's amazing?
That is amazing. 40%.
I wouldn't have thought that.
Yeah, me either.
We're going to break for lunch. A couple more questions. Do you have a question, anybody?
You
Yes?
had a question in the back.
I can't remember.
It was an hour and a half ago.
Yeah. Oh,
Yes,
if you have a food handler's license
Certificate.
certificate, I'm sorry, and it's in another business's name, I can always transfer it over.
No. No,
Well,
I don't
in
think
Texas,
so.
yes.
What?
Not in Florida.
In Texas,
Oh, I'm
yes.
sorry. You're probably right because it's a general food handler's right. It's not.
I think it's federal, so.
It's
In
not specific.
in a lot of states, it's called a frozen dessert manufacturer's license. So check with your local authorities. One thing with dealing with, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
One thing with dealing with local authorities, talk to a local authority who's not in your town. If you're in
Good
Delray
point.
Beach,
Good
talk
point.
to someone in Tallahassee. Because if you don't like the answer you get or you think it's wrong in your town, you're stuck with this person. But if you call up Tallahassee and ask the same question, you can get hopefully a good answer.
Or pretend you never spoke to him.
Or pretend you never spoke to him. And then if you run into trouble with the guy in Delray Beach, you can say, well, what about doing it this way? Example, they come in and they say, okay, we want a dairy tile floor and dairy tile walls,
Right.
and that's going to cost a fortune. So, and I call him Phil the inspector. So you start a diary right then and there. And Phil says, we want dairy tile walls, dairy tile floors. And he's saying it not because he's a bad guy, but because he's got a boss. And he knows if he does it the most sophisticated, expensive way he can think of, his boss will have no complaints. His whole job is stay out of the boss's radar. And so you call up someone like Jeff from me, and they say, hey, they want this dairy tile floor. It's $1 billion a square inch. What's the floor? Oh, it's concrete. Okay, ask them if you can paint the floor with a 2-stage Rust-Oleum epoxy paint for $87. You write that down. Phil comes in. Hey, Phil, I know you said you want this floor, but can I do the 2-stage epoxy like old people do? Old people in Florida. I got to stop saying this because I'm going to be one soon. They paint their floors. We paint their floors bright colors, but it seals off. It seals off. And he says, "Yeah, that's fine." Okay, August 9th, Phil said 2-stage epoxy floor is okay. What about those walls? Are they okay? Do I have to put up, tile, or can I put up white smooth paneling? Oh yeah, we'll let you do paneling. You write it down. Phil's boss comes in for the final exam at the end of August, and says, what's with this floor? Phil approved it. Well, he's not going to go against the guy he taught. Okay, that's fine. These walls? Yeah, same thing. Phil approved it on this date. Okay, fine. That's how you get, you work with them. The old days, like my father used to say when the inspector would come in, he'd say, give him $25 or throw him in the dumpster, your choice. And I'd say, Dad, come on, it's 1975, things have changed. He said, fine, give him $50.
Okay, last question.
Starting out a new business, I know that CB350 is a big seller. Could you start a business with the 200?
No, absolutely not. Because it's going to take the same amount of time, but it's making half the amount of ice cream. If you spend 20 hours, you wouldn't have enough ice cream for your store. And so think about that. It's not just, you can say, oh, I can do 20 hours. That gives me 4 hours to sleep. But what about opportunity cost? What about setting up the rest of the store? What about meeting and greeting the customers?
It's just not practical.
It's not practical
And
at all.
if you get a CB350 to start your business, that's 11 grand. If you keep it for 9 months or a year, put it on eBay, you'll get 10 grand for it in 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Because you've all been on eBay, I know this.
Yeah.
And you don't see Emery's on eBay. 20 minutes, gone.
And what you don't see or you found out is when one shows up and you call me up and they say, yeah, one of your machines went up 4 days ago. I go, sorry, it was gone in 2 hours, but eBay is smart enough to know in their analytics and their computers. There's nobody sitting around saying, boy, that Emery Thompson's really something. Their analytics say, this thing sells in 2 hours, but if we leave the advertisement up for 5 days, we'll get 400 hits looking at it. So they leave the ad up well after the machine is sold. They're not out there. And you tell me, what is more important in your business than my batch freezer? Is it the signs? Is it the hats? Maybe the shirts? Maybe the expensive Italian dipping cabinets? Do any of those make you any money? No, they cost you money. The only thing that makes you money is the machine. And if you go out and buy somebody's 40-year-old machine, yes, it's still running. It's an Emery Thompson, but it's 40 years old. And they have a brain in them. They know when it's July 3rd, and they'll break on July 3rd. And we've gone off to the beach because it's July 4th weekend. So, or no one's going to take you 5 weeks.
The Rolls-Royce, the absolute best machine for all of us is the 24-quart machine. So there's no question you'll have one. But you don't have to start with one. I would rather buy a 6-quart than lease a 24-quart. That's my feeling. I want to own it. And you're not going to lose any money. You're renting it for a year for $1,000. Come on.
And I'd rather buy a 6-quart than not get into business.
Yeah, absolutely.
You don't know how many people I talk to. They say, I spoke to you a year and a half ago, and I'm still looking for a used machine. And I say, really? That's a year and a half that you missed out on making $500,000 a year. What a shame. What a bad business decision. And it happens all the time. Or very young people who say, oh, we're going to experiment for the next year, perfecting our formulas. Vanilla ice cream has got vanilla extract in it. That's it. If you want to go nuts, you throw some specks in, dust from the floor. And that's it. It's not rocket science. I can do it.
It ain't rocket science.
Well, let's have some wine.